Now, we all know that Nintendo is going to do new and interesting things with the stuff that was seen in Breath of the Wild for the sequel. In the most recent trailer from about 8 months ago, we already saw some interesting new locations and even enemies. However, so far, we haven't really seen anything of the villain yet, or any potential bosses that we will take on. And so today, we will talk about 3 boss ideas that I came up with for Breath of the Wild 2. And believe me, some of these are really sweet. Now let's jump right in. Now in the sky, anything can happen. A monster can just swoop in and attack you, while you can't do anything about it. This is a concept seen in a lot of games, and even in The Legend of Zelda, with the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess being great examples. In those games, you are constantly dealing with annoying birds that come down to attack you, which can be a bit annoying. However, when Skyward Sword finally came around the corner, we were able to fly on our own and explore the sky. Which was a cool idea, but in the end, Nintendo kind of ruined the opportunity by not adding much to the sky. However, in Breath of the Wild 2, we will once again explore the sky. So I think it's about time to see another dragon boss. We've already seen those in games like Twilight Princess, and even a smaller one in Breath of the Wild, and I think Nintendo can take it to the next level. I call this boss the Malice Dragon, and it really is a step up from the Malice-infected dragon we saw in the first Breath of the Wild game. In the trailer, we can see that Ganondorf unleashes enormous amounts of malice, and it would be quite amazing if this manifested into a dragon that roams the sky. If it's made out of malice, it would have a really cool red and black look, and the fight with it could be even better. In the beginning, Link will be walking around on one of the sky islands that's seen in the trailer. And then, a cutscene plays where a gigantic shadow is cast over the island that flies over. At that point, Link looks up, but he doesn't see anything. But then, the dragon appears, letting out a fierce roar! And then the battle begins. It has 2 stages, one on the ground and another that is set in the sky. At first, you will fight him from the island. The dragon will fly over and breathe malice flames down on Link, which will stick to the floor, and thanks to this, you can't walk on it anymore. Well, at least for a while. Aside from that, it will periodically swoop down, and if you don't get out of the way, it will hit you, and you will fall to the ground. Now, after it swoops down, you get the chance to shoot arrows at it. And hitting certain spots does more damage, but overall you can hit it anywhere. After this, it will try to get away from you, and you must hunt it down. And so you will fly from island to island, following it, shooting arrows at it every now and then. Meanwhile, the dragon leaves behind malice that sort of drips off its wings, and small malice creatures will spawn from its body that will attack you. Now at some point, it will also crash on one of those islands, allowing you to hit it with your sword, and that's basically the fight. So it's an action-filled fight with a dragon both on land and also in the sky, with a very menacing intro cutscene. Personally, I think this would be a very cool fight, and it would also improve upon the older battles seen in the series. And it would also give the battle that you have with Lavias in Skyward Sword a run for its money, because this Malice Dragon would clearly be a step up. Now for our next one, we will look at a normal enemy that's found in Breath of the Wild, but this time, it's a bit more special. Now, we have all killed millions of moblins and bokoblins, and at some point, they become a bit boring. Sure, they are still quite unique because of their unpredictable AI, but you know what I mean. What I want to see is a Moblin Warchief mini-boss. A powered-up Moblin that's a lot scarier than a normal one. It should look different from a normal Moblin, obviously, which they can do by using some cool face paint, as well as special armor that could also increase its defense. Aside from that, it also needs to have a big and powerful weapon that has an elemental effect, because that would also make it harder. And of course, he needs some special attacks. And when it comes to this, Nintendo could add a couple of simple things. For example, some sort of spin attack just like Link can do. And obviously during this, he will move towards you. Now another attack you could add is that he will grab explosive barrels and other things and throw them at you, just like a normal one would. But this one will do it more often, especially when you start shooting at him with your bow. And last but not least, he should be hard to sweep off his feet. Most moblins can be cut down quite easily, and when they are on the ground, they can't really do much. So this will make him harder to defeat as well. And that's kind of it. All these things would make a moblin an interesting challenge in my opinion. And I think we really need some of those. Because while the normal bokoblins and moblins are fun, we never really see any special versions. No commanders, leaders, generals, warchiefs, or anything. While the idea is really cool. A game like Halo Infinite, for example, did this a lot. And while some were a bit dull, there were also a lot of interesting ones. And I bet Nintendo could do an even better job. Now for our last boss, I had the idea of adding something that we have seen before, but this time Nintendo can make an ultimate version of it. Now we have all seen Guardians. They are one of the most terrifying enemies in the entire game, especially in the beginning. And one type that really impressed me was the Guardian Scout. Sure, the smaller versions aren't that impressive, but something like a Guardian Scout 4 is an insane challenge. However, I think Nintendo can take this concept and turn it up to 11 by creating a Guardian Scout Master. The strongest that was ever created, or maybe one of the first. We see some sort of weird stone guardian-like creatures in the trailer for the sequel after all. Just imagine, Link is walking around in one of those ancient caves that we see in the trailer, and then he enters a gigantic room decorated with stone carvings and luminous stones. But then, the entrances to this place are closed, and another door opens, and out of it comes a gigantic Guardian Scout, made out of stone or normal Guardian parts. And then it attacks you. Now, when it comes to attacks, Nintendo could borrow from the normal Guardian Scout that we have seen in the Test of Strength shrines. So he can shoot lasers, use a couple of powerful weapons, and more. However, they also need to add some new things. One thing they could do if they go for a more primitive version is some sort of arrow cannon. One thing they could do if they go for a more... This would allow the Guardian to shoot arrows at you with all kinds of different effects, like explosive or electric. And it would allow the Guardian to annoy you in different ways. Like freezing you in place so it can hit you, disarming you with electricity, or blowing you up with an explosive arrow. If it has this, the Guardian can counter Link in a lot of situations, or combine this with other attacks. Now, one other thing they could add, which I don't expect to ever see again in the series, is a whip. You know, like Majora had at the end of Majora's Mask? It would be cool to see it grab you with the whip and throw you around. Stuff like this hasn't been seen in the series in ages. And it would certainly make this boss special compared to every other enemy seen in the game. But to be honest, any of the ideas I talked about today would be cool to see in the Breath of the Wild sequel. So, let's hope we see some of these ideas in the actual game. And also, let me know down below in the comment section about your ideas. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, click the bell button, and leave a comment down below on what you thought about my ideas or what ideas you have, and what video I should do next. I look a lot at my comments, so really I read them. Just look at previous videos.